Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the show of the people, by the people, for the people, wearefree.tv. Please do donate, as we heavily depend on that. Thank you for all your kind donations so far. The information is shown up here. If you need PayPal, bank transfer, etc. Also, please join our Telegram group, No Censorship TV, and then you could be notified about any new English interviews as and when they are published. And of course, we have a mailing list on our website. You just go to wearefree.tv, click on Join Us, enter your mail, send, and then you'll just be added to our mailing list and be notified as well by email. Thank you very much for that. Also, please share this interview wherever you possibly can. And if you're watching this on any platform like YouTube, etc., then please subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for that. And today, my guest is Mr. Ryder Lee. He is a truth seeker, knowledge guardian, and spiritual educator. The name of the interview is Reality, Perception, Reincarnation, and Ascension with Ryder Lee, a talk with Ryder Lee on reality, predictive programming, a Garden of Eden, the Matrix, and much more. So, hello there, Ryder. How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful, Michael. Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you and your audience.
Yeah, same here. So, truth seeker, knowledge guardian. Wow, that's so interesting. Perhaps you could tell us about yourself before we start.
Yeah, so I think for me, this really started kind of early as a child, right? I kind of seemed to experience weird and strange things all the time. And up until the age of 8 or 9, every night before I went to bed, I'd see these beings come out of the walls. They were kind of translucent beings, and they would, surround me. I don't know if I don't know what country you're in, but
Israel.
So I don't know if you guys had wood paneling in your houses or how that worked, but that's what they would really come out of at night was, wood paneling. It was like that fake wood paneling, right? It's not the real wood paneling. I was, living in a trailer. So it was, the fake kind of wood paneling, and they would, come out of there every night. So naturally, this scared me. And when I told my parents about it, and they kind of thought something was wrong with my eyes, because how could someone be seeing something that they couldn't see themselves, Yeah. Which I don't really blame my parents. They never really had anything like that happen to them. So I don't think they really knew how to handle it. But they took me to an eye doctor and gave me these cards to, practice on blurring my vision or making the images kind of pop up off of the card, which I could do, pretty easily. But it was really at that point that I realized I couldn't tell my parents what I was seeing anymore, which over time kind of shut down these clairvoyance abilities instead of helping them grow.
Yeah.
Which everyone is born with these innate abilities. Almost everyone, they're really starting to crack down and shut down a lot of these abilities through the vaccines that they're pumping into kids these days, but that's a different subject. But really what does it is the construct that we're currently living in, Michael, and how so many people have been brought up in this system for many years that it's become normal and generational, because let's face it, the majority of people are a product of their environment, right?
Yep.
Depending on what part of the world you're born in, what generation you're born in, who your parents are, where you live, and what you do for a living tends to dictate and cultivate your reality and beliefs,
Yep.
That's the way that I think that it works. But bringing our awareness to that fact and being able to break that programming is what I think being awake actually means.
So speaking of awakening, can you tell us about your personal awakening? When and how?
Well, I think that there's many awakenings that we kind of go through our entire life, right? One is a spiritual awakening. Another one is like a corruption awakening. And I had, several of these throughout my life. And I think that the biggest one really was at around 18 to 20 that kind of blew me wide open.
Age? You mean you were 18 years old?
Yeah, I was 18, around the age range of 18 to 20. I think it kind of lasted for, a year or two. That I was kind of receiving a bunch of spiritual downloads at that time. But again,
what's that? What's a spiritual download?
Well, it's kind of like a knowing or like an epiphany. Some, explain it as, something that has been brought to your attention that you did not have any awareness of, and that there was nothing leading up to it. It just kind of popped into your brain, kind of like an original thought, but that didn't transform from you. That
How
didn't
can you
come
tell
from
the difference?
Your thought process. That's a very good question. Thank you. Well, I think that we can trace back our thoughts, Michael, because whenever you have a thought, if you can trace back that thought to an original starting point, then you know that that thought came from you.
For example?
Right. If, let's say you were going outside and you were going to get in your car, and then you had a thought that you were going to be in a car accident, right? Well, that's more than likely from you. That's not external from you, because that's a part of what's going on in your reality at that time. You're going to get in your car. Mm-hmm. Right now. If that thought came whenever you weren't around a car, or you weren't getting ready to get in your car, and it was a specific time, then that was more than likely outside of you. That was someone trying to give you a message.
And what might that be? Or might that, or that?
Well, I was just using that as an example.
Excellent example. I mean, sorry, I totally understand the example, but now I'm asking another question. You said that something or someone might be sending me that thought. So who could that someone or something be? Who or what?
Well, I don't really know, because that's really the question, right? Where do our thoughts originate from? Are our thoughts all from ourselves, or are our thoughts from outside of us? Amazing. I don't think really very many people think, where do our thoughts even come from?
And the fact is that our thoughts are not us, regardless of whether it's our thoughts or thoughts from the outside. They're still not our thoughts. They are not us. If you see what I mean.
Right, exactly. I think that our thoughts are like a frequency, right? It's kind of like turning a radio dial, of a radio, and you're trying to tune into the certain frequency, right? And depending on where you are at on the frequency, it depends on the kind of thought process that you are tuning into. Right. So you can use an example. The lower the frequency, the more negative the thought, or higher the frequency that you're tuning into, the more positive the thought. And I'm not saying that that's the way that it is. That's just, using that as an example of the way that it could possibly be.
Okay. So let's focus. We were talking about your awakening. You said when you were 18 to 20, you had these downloads, and I asked you what's a download, and you explained to me really nicely in great detail what that is, and thank you very much for that. And back to the awakening. So what else? That's it? You just got some downloads? Come on, you must have had more than that.
Oh yeah, for sure. So what kind of happened was I was getting more information about our reality and what we're living in, and that we kind of live in a certain dimension, right? That we're only perceiving very limited amount of the light spectrum, right? And there are different realities that are outside of our reality. We're in a closed system, and that we operate within a virtual kind of simulation of sorts, right? And all this information kept coming in and kept flooding in. But again, just like whenever I was a kid, and seeing these beings come out of the wall, the people that I was around at that time weren't having the same experiences. They weren't awake, right? So whenever I was trying to explain some of these concepts and the things that I was going through, the people that I had around me just kind of thought that I was just going a little crazy.
Yep.
Right? Because when you start talking about different dimensions, and you're like, yeah, we're here in the 3D dimension. There's infinite amount of dimensions outside of ours. There's the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and so on. People are like, what are you talking about, bro? Like you're being wild right now. So it kind of shut that aspect of me down too, and this one was a really rough one, Michael, because this time the information kind of collapsed in upon itself, right? I didn't have a proper outlet. I didn't have people that I could go to talk about these things, And so what I ended up doing, unfortunately, is I turned to, drugs and alcohol
What
to
drugs?
Kind of cope.
Please specify what drugs exactly?
Well, I would rather not disclose that information, but
I can tell you, I tried
drugs.
LSD, and I tried ecstasy and MDMA and marijuana, loads of marijuana, even ketamine a few times, and of course ayahuasca and San Pedro and peyote and a few other shamanic plants. And I believe it's a very good thing to expand your consciousness. And all those people who didn't believe you, a drop of LSD would have sorted out the situation. You still don't want to tell us what you were on?
It wasn't any psychedelic. It was actually hard drugs like opiates, heroin, stuff like that to numb me out. Like I didn't need the LSD. I didn't need the shrooms. I didn't need the ayahuasca. I was getting all of that information naturally, right? What I wanted to do is I wanted to shut it off. I wanted to shut it down because I couldn't relate to anyone.
Shame.
Right? So I wanted to take it and get rid of it.
I see. I see. Because all the ones I mentioned, in order to get it, to take it, to get it, not to get rid of it. When I'm not on it, I don't know anything. I'm just normal, and I have my repetitive thoughts, whether they're mine or not. Who knows? Stress, fear, worries, envy, jealousy, and all that stuff. When you take 3 grams of shrooms, you're there in oneness with the Creator. 4 hours later, you're back where you started. But anyway, all these things just show us, they show us what we can achieve naturally, and hopefully one day I'll be able to achieve it naturally. And so can you tell me what information you were downloading? I want to know what specific information. All you mentioned is dimensions, like multi-dimensional nature of the universe, but what else?
That's the issue, Michael, is I don't really remember. That was the whole point of me turning to drugs, is so that I could forget, So I'm kind of on the journey to bring all of that back to the forefront of my mind, because I've been clean and sober now for 2 years. So I'm trying to bring all of that back to me and even go further, because I have a YouTube channel now. I have an outlet that I'm able to share these concepts with, that I'm able to get out the information and hopefully relate to someone, and someone can relate to me.
Yep.
And that way we can share, and I don't have to go back down that dark and lonely road again, because I have people in my life who support me now.
So what kind of subjects and topics are on your YouTube channel?
Well, I cover spirituality first and foremost because, I believe we are in a spiritual war right now. And the only way we win and make it out of the hole we've kind of dug ourselves into is getting in touch with ourselves, as a spiritual being and knowing who we are. Because a lot of people don't know who they are, Michael. If I were to ask you, who are you, Michael, you would more than likely give me your name, your date of birth, what you do, and where you live. But that's not who you are. Those are constructs, those are things that you've been given and told that you are. We exist on multiple planes of existence. We're a spiritual being, we're an energy being, we're also a physical being. So I cover all kinds of different topics. I do, one show a week on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. PST on Raised by Giants YouTube channel. I talk about different topics each week. They range from UFOs, ETs, contact, ancient history, manifestation, the unexplained, life after death, conspiracies, the occult, really an array of topics, because I feel everything is connected. So I'm sure there's something in there for everyone. And if not, something in the future might spark your interest. But really the goal is to help people, and let people know that they're not alone by confirming their thoughts about certain things, or expanding upon what they already know and helping them question their reality. Because we know, Michael, that things really aren't what they seem, and everything has kind of been hijacked and inverted and turned upside down against us. We live in a unicorn upside down land at the moment.
Absolutely, and have been for hundreds or even thousands of years. So there's nothing new there, only the fact that we seem to be waking up to it on a mass scale, which might just turn the tides and actually bring about the change. Salvation is around the corner. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. So what is your personal perspective on reality?
Well, it's interesting that you asked that, because I think that the basis for reality is perception, right? Because think about this. Let's use COVID, for example. If I can convince you, Michael, that there's a crazy, deadly virus running around, killing thousands of people, then it really doesn't matter if it's actually happening or not when I've convinced you of it, because you're going to act as if it's real.
Yes,
right?
and I would like to add, you could take an even simpler example. It's enough to show you a toothpaste on TV that's full of fluoride and God knows what, terrible chemicals, and tell you that that's really good for you. It's good for your teeth. And you're going to go and buy it and, brush your teeth with it, and properly massage it into your gums, believing it's good for you. And this is just one small example.
Exactly. And then you're going to go out and you're going to convince your friends and family and so on that toothpaste is the best possible thing for you. It starts a chain reaction.
Yeah, and
right?
all your teeth are going to fall out if, God forbid, you don't buy it and use it frantically every day.
Exactly. And before you know it, you have an acceptable and shared reality, right? Because you have in turn enforced it upon yourself and upon others. And all I've done, Michael, is coerce and manipulate and persuade you into believing that the toothpaste is the best thing for your teeth.
Yep. So let's take a few examples going back 10 years, 20 years, like really basic stuff. For example, education. You go to school for 12 years, you learn stuff that nobody really needs in the real world, and then you end up forgetting all of it. So that's a bit twisted and ridiculous, and it's a reality that doesn't serve anyone, in a positive way. What else? I mean, food. Look at the food. You're led to believe that junk food is okay. It's part of nature. You could eat it. You might not eat it. I mean, there's cigarettes. All these poisons around us. What else? I don't know. Maybe even family. That tell me a few crazy things like that you've noticed throughout the years.
Well, here's the thing, Michael, is they don't really give two shits if it's actually real or not. And it's like you mentioned, this concept just doesn't work with, COVID and toothpaste. It works with every facet of our reality, right? It works with religion. It works with politics. It works with identity. It works with skin color, nationality, class,
Yep. Perfect.
How you feel about yourself, what you think others think of you, right? All comes down to your perception. It really doesn't matter if God is a bearded man in the sky or not, as long as people believe that he is, right?
Yep.
And that in turn creates it and brings it into your reality, right? And that is how powerful our individual and collective consciousness is. Now imagine, Michael, what we could do with something positive happening, right? Instead of the constant misery, fear, anger, and hate constantly being perpetuated by the collective consciousness, to me, that would be a game changer if we could concentrate on something positive, and then we can continuously perpetuate that positivity. But that's the thing that they don't want to happen.
So give us an example of something positive that might be, which doesn't exist at the moment, or at least it's not being broadcasted all day long.
Well, I mean, it can really be, it can be anything, right?
It could
be, that's honestly a difficult question because we're so
Go for your fantasies, your deepest fantasy. Heaven on earth.
Okay.
People walking around naked, dancing and having fun and making love in the streets. Why not?
Yeah, and it could be that. It could be, it could be something, very, very simple. It could be that, the all of a sudden, all of the, we're no longer having to be a part of this monetary system, right?
Mm-hmm.
The monetary system is gone. We're no longer chained to, the monetary system. The money system is gone. There's a new money system that is actually for the people, that actually benefits people. It could be any of those things, right? Yeah. It could be that all of we live in a brand new reality. It could be the free energy. It could be med beds are now released. We have all this free technology.
Yeah.
It could be any of those things.
Plus peace. It could just be peace. They could come out and reveal the lie that there is, in fact, no war. There is no nation that fundamentally the people of it hates the other people. That's bollocks. It's invented. It doesn't really exist in reality. They just keep lying to us that it is. Like in Israel, they say, we have to bring peace. But when I meet an Arab, we have fun. We drink beer, we eat hummus together, There is no war between us. It never has been.
Yeah, it's an illusionary thing that they're trying to perpetuate, and it's a divide and conquer strategy, Michael. That's what they're so good at, and that's what the media is used for, is to get us all into an illusionary reality. And if you're not creating your own reality within yourself, then somebody else is, right?
Yep.
And and that's what they want you to get into, is an artificial created reality that somebody else has projected onto you, and then you live in their reality.
Yep.
Instead of creating your own and bringing your own people into your reality, you're stuck in somebody else's.
So what do you do against that? Or to, I mean, I can tell you what I do. I've cut myself off all media. So for 19 years, I haven't watched the news on any news channels in any language. I don't read newspapers. I don't listen to the radio. 19 years. And then I became even more extreme. Then 7 years ago, I detached myself from Facebook because I realized it's just like watching TV. It's the same source of information. And then I was left just with WhatsApp. And then a few months ago, I exited all the WhatsApp groups that I was involved in. And now I am completely clean. And it's amazing. Life is so beautiful, I'm unaware of all the lies and all the fictionate reality that they're trying to create. And some people say, well, how can you live in a country and not know what's happening? And I'm like, what do you mean? I drive all over Israel. I go camping every weekend, I see with my own eyes what's going on, and it's beautiful. It's excellent. The birds are singing. The sun is shining. The sea is lovely and warm, and I can surf in it and swim. And I could camp in the north by the river and then come back and go to the Dead Sea. And it's all good. I don't know what you're talking about. So what do you do?
Yes, that's an amazing thing to be able to do that, because, again, they are trying to perpetuate a reality that does not exist, right? That's what I try and tell people is walk outside your door, right? And look and see what's going on. And you will see a completely different version of reality than what they're constantly trying to perpetuate on the news and the media, right? So that is one thing that is very important to be able to do. And not only that, for your own individual sanity, turn off the news, stop watching the media. We know that they are nothing but liars, Michael. That is their job, is to manipulate and lie. Right?
Yep.
But and unfortunately, a lot of people keep going back to it. If your partner or your girlfriend or whoever it is you're in a relationship with was lying to you, would you continue to be with them?
Well, I'd say it's more like heroin or cocaine or cigarettes, because I don't know heroin, but I heard. But let's say cigarettes. Cigarettes are heavily addictive, and news is the same. Sometimes somebody sends me something, on WhatsApp, and I'm thinking, gosh, it's a link to Facebook. Maybe it's something nice. Maybe I should watch it. But I'm like, no. It's like, don't smoke that joint. Don't. It's not good for you. And people watching the news are addicted, like proper heavy junkies. It's a drug. It's probably the strongest drug.
But it's like, what about it is so compelling? Is it a sense of people wanting to know? Right? Because that is not a good source of information to be drawing from. And it goes back to what I was just saying. If your partner or someone who's close to you continuously lies to you, then you're probably going to cut them out of your life. Why can we not do that, the same thing with the media? It's nothing but lies. They're proven liars.
I agree, but I would say I'm trying to explain, because you said, well, you're like, well, how can it be? Well, I'll tell you how it can be, because many relationships, what you just described, there's so many abusive relationships where the husband beats up his wife and she doesn't leave him, and then you have this pathological liar of a husband lying through his teeth to his wife all day long, and she knows, but she can't leave him. She has to stay with him because she knows it's a psychological thing. It's a dependency, an unknown, a suppressed kind of dependency, and that's exactly happening on a universal scale. Exactly that. And some clever women do leave and do manage to leave that abusive husband, and just like people like you and me have managed to leave the abusive media.
Yeah, I guess I was kind of just thinking more on a common sense and
Yes.
critical thinking level,
Mm.
But that's what I've kind of realized, Michael, is that not everyone has the same perception as me and you, right? It, there's lots of different people that have different belief systems, right?
Yep.
Excuse me. And our, I really have a cultivated truth because of my experiences in life, right?
What is
Like
your truth?
what I've been through in my life cultivates and creates my truth. And that's a complicated question you just asked because
Sorry, actually, it's how do you perceive truth? That's the question.
so I think a lot of people perceive truth as a all-knowing, encompassing thing, right? A blanket kind of system. But here's the hardcore truth, and I know you know this too, Michael, is that there is no truth, right? Now, let me explain that. People have experiences just like what I was talking about, right? They have experiences in life. You, Michael, have had a different experience than me because you are your own individual, right? And depending on a bunch of different factors that's happened to you through your life, you are where you are today because of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
As am I. Our experiences cultivate and shape our reality, therefore influencing our truth. Someone that was born into a rich family is going to have a different outlook on life for a lot of different reasons, right? Not just the money factor, but character traits and personality and even the way they treat people, and the people that they have around them are going to be different, right?
Yep.
Compared to someone that grew up in the projects, and I'm not here to, psychoanalyze people for their status in life. I'm just giving an example of how many different realities there are, and your perception creates and cultivates your reality, and everyone has a perception, so therefore everyone has a truth, and just because I believe something different than someone else doesn't mean I'm right and you're wrong. That's not the way it works. I have my beliefs, thoughts, and ideas based on where I'm standing and the information that I have, and you, Michael, have yours based on where you're standing and the information that you have. Where we get screwed up is trying to make it where people all believe in the same thing, throwing a blanket on it, putting it all under the same umbrella, instead of letting them be, and again, as long as people believe that their truth is truth, then it is, right? Our thoughts constantly create our reality, Michael. A negative thought you believe in so deeply, it becomes real. But it also works in the other way too, just like we were talking about earlier. A positive thought, you believe it so deeply, it becomes real as well. So the choice is really up to you as an individual.
Yeah. Definitely. About the truths, my therapist, bless her heart, recently was talking to me about how there's an infinite amount of truths. So it would be an advantage for me or healthy for me to accept the fact that there are many, many truths. And I might have my truth and many truths, and you might have a truth. So if you believe that there are green dragons with white spots living on the moon, then I accept that that's your truth, and there's nothing wrong with there being two truths side by side in the same on the same ground in the same reality, because there's nothing, there could be 7 billion truths. So what? Let there be 7 billion truths, as long as it's not interfering with your truth in any way and kind of abusing it in any way. Then brilliant. The more the merrier.
Exactly. And they want to get rid of our imagination too, Michael. They want to get us locked into a very narrow view of reality, right? And they want to make it to where our creativity is basically non-existent, because the controllers of our reality, Michael, have no creativity.
Well,
right?
They
cannot
very creative
create.
about restricting our creativity.
Yes, they are, and they use our creativity.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
What do you mean? How?
They manipulate our creativity. They get rid of our creativity so that they siphon off our creativity, right? And they manipulate it and they turn it into their own, because they cannot create anything.
Do you know who they are or what they are? Those what did you call them, of our reality? The rulers, or the rulers of our reality?
The controllers of our reality.
Yeah. Is that like the reptilians, you mean, or what?
I would say that there's many levels to it, right? There are humans that are very corrupt, that are basically in control of a lot of things physically. But there are spiritual entities. Now, if you want to call them reptilians, archons, parasite consciousness, whatever you want to call them, I think that they're all the same, right? But there are a lot of negative entities, negative spiritual entities that are influencing a lot of our reality. Now, again, what they are, I have no idea, because I cannot pretend to even know, because I don't know. I just going off of what other people have said and stated about them. But yes, I do think that there are unseen spiritual negative entities that are in control of a lot of our reality.
What about the archons? You mentioned them. Tell me about them.
Well, that kind of gets into my spiritual download about how they really came into our reality, which it's kind of a long thing. I know we're going to get into that a little bit later. So
okay.
That one might be saved for later, because it's about a longer kind of story.
So what is predictive programming? What is the difference between that and giving consent?
So basically, in order for a bad thing to kind of happen in our reality on a global scale, two things must first happen. We have to consent to it. And through that consent, we believe in it. Now, this doesn't mean everyone has to believe in it or consent to it. The majority just has to, because if not, the ones orchestrating and staging these events, the humans, right, will receive the karmic backlash from it. This is why they're so prevalent with their propaganda, media outlets. It's to get you sucked into a illusory reality, to where we feed the system ourselves, right? Through psychological warfare, social engineering, social programming, and culture creation, right? And predictive programming plays a part in that, to set up a self-governing system.
So what is predictive programming again? What are you predicting and what are you programming?
Well, predictive programming happens in a couple of different ways, right? They can show you, because they have to kind of show you what's going to happen before it happens, right? Because that's to program our subconscious on a level that we don't even recognize, so that whenever the event actually happens in real life, it goes off largely unquestioned. And they also use that system in order to give consent for it to happen. Right, so it's
for the people to give consent, like with the Twin Towers, that gave consent to go and kick ass in the Middle East.
Yes.
Okay.
By subtly showing it to you, and getting your subconscious on that level to where when it actually happens, it largely goes unquestioned, and we have then given our consent for it to happen. Exactly, you're 100%
and now
correct.
It's even worse. Now we're giving consent to stick a needle into our shoulder with an experimental liquid, not go and bomb some poor Arab in the Middle East. So it's getting closer and closer to home, if you see what I mean. Like we don't have the privilege anymore to just sit on the couch and just go, well, I don't care, I'll just watch TV and just do what they say. No, you need to wake up, wake up, wake up.
Yes, because it's interesting that you brought up the jab, because what I've seen is a lot of people are getting it because they want to be able to travel. You know, well, screw the traveling. You know, how long before they have to open it up?
Yes.
Because they aren't making any money, Michael, because people said no. You know, and if not, then they're going to go bankrupt.
Isn't that what
because
they want?
No one's traveling?
Isn't that what some people want to happen? To crash the economy and to dilute the population? You know, it's not necessarily. I'm not sure we're talking about the same they in this context.
No, I'm saying that if we all stood up and said, no, Michael, no, we are not going to get vaccinated. No, you cannot take our freedoms away from us. No, we cannot. You're not going to shut down our businesses. Then what are they going to do?
Oh, yeah, of course. And if I'll take it even further.
They have to open it back up.
Yeah.
They have to do these things.
Yeah.
Right?
Because you said they're not going to make any money. You said they won't make any money.
They're going to go bankrupt if they don't, right? That's the power of saying no. But the issue is they want it to be done their way. They only want it to, and that's what all this comes down to. It has to be a controlled demolition, right? It's exactly like 9/11. It has to be brought down their way, you know, because if not, then there's too many variables that can happen.
And do you think
right?
it's
so
working?
we have to switch the perception back to us.
And what do you think is happening?
Right?
Do you think we are doing it? Do you think it's being switched and people are waking up and it's not working this time for them and they're kind of losing it as we speak?
I hope so. And I really want it to be that way. But then again, they have their tentacles in every single part of our reality. So it's hard to say what's actually real and what's not. We have to be able to look deep within ourselves, right? And get into and unlock our intuition and know who we are as a spiritual being in order to disseminate all of this information and in order to categorize it into certain things and realize what is actually real, because they have everything hijacked and set up for us, right? So it's hard to tell if the economy did crash, there was a big, huge war, there was a world war. We have no idea if that's a part of the plan or not.
Uh-huh.
You know, we have no idea.
What do you mean?
And we have no idea. We don't know. We don't know if all of a sudden they were like, oh, yeah, there's no COVID anymore. Everything can go back to normal. We don't know if that's a part of the plan or not, because it can go any which direction because they have all
with our heads.
Yeah. It's psychological, all of it. It's psychological manipulation, and we don't know what's real and what's not. That's the big issue.
Glad to be alive. I'm so happy to be alive right now in this crazy time, and knowing what I know. It's amazing. It's so exciting, man. Wow, I'm going to pat myself on the shoulder. Well done, me.
That's not to be pessimistic, you know, Michael. I think that the things have to change for the better, and things are going to get better. It's just, are we going to be able to realize what is good for us and what isn't? You know, because I think a lot of things are going to be disguised both ways, some things are going to be perceived as being really good for us when they're not.
Like
and
what?
Then some things are
the
going to
jab.
be perceived exactly, and some things are going to be perceived as not good for us when they are.
An example for that? I know. Mushrooms.
Yeah, I mean, I was just using that as an example. Like there, it doesn't have to be anything specifically. It's just the awareness.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And bringing the awareness to the fact that things aren't always the way that they seem.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm very positive and optimistic thanks to the channelings. I mean, there's so many channelers all over YouTube channeling the Galactic Federation, the Pleiadians, the Andromedans, the Acturians, the Assassani, blah, blah, blah. And they're all saying the exact same thing. It's going to get better, and we're going through this, and the age of Aquarius is upon us, and we're raising our frequencies, rising into the fifth dimension, and the different timelines and all that. So, let's party. It's happening. Hooray.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. But
are you saying they're all wrong? All the channelers, the channelings? Might be wrong?
I don't think that they're wrong. I just think that a lot of what's going to happen has to get way worse before it gets better.
But for me, it doesn't matter how worse
collapse.
It gets, because even when it was a little bit bad, I wasn't influenced by it. And when it got worse, didn't make any difference. So it doesn't matter how worse it gets. In my reality, everything's brilliant because of the measures I take. Until the missile hits me in the head, life's good. Mm-hmm. Or until they come to me with a straitjacket and needles and forcefully vaccinate me, I'm fine.
And that's the way that a lot of people should be, Michael. They should be that way. They should be their own individual, and they should be able to do that in their reality and create their own,
Yeah.
But the problem arises, again, when we are being herded as a collective and believing in things that aren't necessarily real or true. Right?
Yeah.
And that works.
Yeah, of course. So some people will survive. Some people are idiots. Some people are clever. Some people are lucky. Some people are unlucky. Some people, have a calling to take spiritual shamanic plants. Some people believe it's terrible. It's the devil and you should stay away from it. Tough luck to them. What can I say? So, what is the karmic spiritual law, and how does the dark side backdoor it into our reality? What? Maybe you can explain that question to me?
Yeah, so there's only a few laws in this reality, contrary to popular belief. And the biggest one is they have to tell you what they're going to do before they do it, like I was saying earlier. And by telling you, you're essentially giving your consent for it to happen. And that's how they get consent. It's very nefarious. And the easiest way for them to do it is with the predictive programming aspect we just discussed. Mm-hmm. Because the subconscious mind is very powerful, and the easiest way to program is from a young age. Our subconscious is the key to our manifestation abilities. Meaning, if our subconscious mind is hijacked, then it makes it damn near impossible for you to be able to manifest what you truly want.
Okay.
You're just constantly getting lack because that's what your subconscious mind has been programmed to receive.
So what's the karmic spiritual law?
The karmic spiritual law is what they basically have to do is they have to convince you to be able to do something negative in our reality, right? And then that then shifts the karmic repercussions from the ones that are doing it onto the people that they're doing it to.
Really? Is it that simple?
Yes.
So, wow. So let me get this let me get my head around this. So if they say to us, "Oh, look, this is going to happen. There's going to be a cyber attack," like our friend Klaus Schwab is saying these days, or has said that there's going to be a cyber attack, and we should be ready for a cyber attack that might hit us hard, hit our infrastructures and our basic means of life. I don't know. We're probably talking about electrical stations and all those water dams and who knows what. And by saying it, he's basically preparing us for it, and by us just going or not doing anything, we are giving it consent. And when it happens, because he's going to arrange the attack through his buddies, there will be no repercussions, karmic repercussions for him, and it's going to be only on us.
Yes.
But that doesn't make sense. It's like saying, if I tell you I'm going to kill you, you're going to die. I'm going to say, look, you're going to die soon. Somebody's going to stab you in the back. And then I go and hire a hitman to go and stab you in the back. I'm clean. It's your fault.
Basically, yes.
Well, how do you explain that? It doesn't make sense to me.
Because that's the way that our reality is set up, Michael.
How do you
know? The way that it works.
It means that whoever set up this karmic law isn't very clever, and that's God.
But that's the way that they
about God.
That's the way that they backdoor it into our reality. That's the back door.
What do they care about karma anyway?
Because karma is one of the only known spiritual laws. It's one of the only laws that's in the universe.
What you put out is what you get back? No.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Well, Bashar's 4 laws of creation. You know Bashar?
The channeler?
Daralanka, the channel that channels him.
I am aware of him. I'm not. I do not watch his stuff regularly. No.
So his 4 laws of creation are: the first law, you exist, you've always existed, and you always will exist. The second one is what you put out is what you get back. The third one is the one is the all, and the all is the one. And the fourth one is everything is in constant change everywhere except for the first 3 laws.
Yes, and I agree with those.
Bless him. So, okay. So moving on to, please tell us about the information that was given to you in a spiritual download. Garden of Eden, technology, knowledge of good and evil, reincarnation.
Yes. I don't know if this... how much time do we have? Because this one's going to be... okay, perfect. So... again, I don't know if this was a spiritual download or epiphany or a knowing, but all I know is that it didn't come from me, Maybe it was an original thought, if that's even possible to have one of those. But basically, I was given information which is a very simple answer to a question I didn't even know that I had. But the answer to that was that the original reason people wanted to merge with technology is to return back to source, right? And when I got that information, it kind of started to unfold over time. And I put a presentation together called Exiting the Simulation, Returning to Source. And it basically kind of starts out with the Adam and Eve story that everyone's very familiar with. But what I was shown is the knowledge of good and evil, that the apple in the garden, I know that you're familiar with that, Michael, wasn't actually an apple, right? It was a fragment of source, right? And source isn't supposed to be taken on like that, because it's too much for any physical being to handle. It would essentially fry our brains, because it's an all-encompassing, all-knowing never ending, holding all of the knowledge in the universe. It's everything but nothing at the same time. So imagine.
It's like 50 grams of shrooms.
Yes, it's exactly what it's
in
like.
one go. Or like 25 shots of ayahuasca.
Right, and some people can't handle that.
Yeah.
You know? So taking on and trying to integrate with source would be like 1,000 times stronger than the most highest dose of any psychedelic medication that you could possibly take.
Yeah.
So, if you can imagine just being in a place where it's just pure white, there's no reference for anything because there isn't anything, it's just infinite.
Yep.
So I was also shown about ancient history with the Anunnaki gods and how they were essentially the most perfect human hybrids ever created. But not a lot of people know that the Anunnaki had a very similar story that kind of runs parallel to the Adam and Eve story, where Enki, the Sumerian god, thought that he was so perfect and all-knowing and powerful that he could go to this forbidden off-limit zone in the universe. And when he did and returned, he was essentially corrupted, because the forbidden off-limit zone was forbidden for a reason, right? Though I don't think that he was actually corrupted. He just kind of discovered and had the awareness of who we are, and what we're living in, right? And this knowledge kind of broke him mentally.
Why would it break you? Isn't it meant to, like with the apple, if you taste this part of everything and nothing and experience this totality of oneness and singularity and godliness and whatever, why would it damage you?
Because it's too overwhelming, right?
So it's
because no physical human being has ever been able to integrate back with source, right? And that's what source is, right? Source is just all of the knowledge in the universe. So imagine trying to cram all of the knowledge in the universe into your brain, Michael.
It's like eating an atomic bomb.
Yeah, it's not going to work. You're going to instantly explode.
Okay, I see.
Because again, it's too much information for you to handle.
No, I have a better example. Seriously, 100 grams of mushrooms would probably kill you.
Yes.
You'll have a great time dying, but it's going to kill you. Or like, anything else of that sort. Yeah. Okay, good. I get it. I can understand that.
Yeah, it would kind of start to fracture and break your brain.
Yeah.
Like
you drank like a whole glass of LSD.
Yeah. It would destroy your neural networks and your brain receptors, right?
Yeah.
You would be completely burnt. You would be a vegetable.
Yeah.
Right? We basically just freaking explode. So this event that with Enki was what I was shown was a part of the galactic war, and these wars had really big ramifications for the planet and everyone on it, even the gods, because when the creator ETs defeated the Anunnaki after the uprising, after Enki tried to go to this forbidden off-limit zone, which was just source itself, they placed a reincarnation trap over the planet, right? Making it to where we could never rise up again, right? Fracturing out our souls, living up to 12 incarnations simultaneously with no memory, not knowing who we are, where we're from, or what we're doing here.
Yet,
right?
There are many souls out there, And I know many aliens that salute us and say that to reincarnate on Earth is a real privilege because of what you just said. So I wonder, I'm not contradicting you, I'm just trying to expand the perspective and see how it all ties in.
Well, I am all about expansion, right, Michael? And I think that a lot of people should be about expansion, right? So what expansion is there coming to a place that you don't remember anything, right? You just stated that Bashtar said that we have always been in existence, right? Well, what good does it do me coming here and not remembering all of the different lives and all of the different things and all the different people that I was, that probably from other galaxies or other incarnations here on the planet?
So that you could awake, so you could come in asleep, or because you're in this matrix, you are born awake as a baby, but then, you know, all this mind control and brainwashing makes you fall asleep, like you did and I did, and then life goes on, and something small within you wakes up, and suddenly you go, hang on a minute, I'm actually a source, a part of God, you know, I'm a divine spirit within a body, and then you end up, you know, advancing spiritually, reaching enlightenment, bodhisattva, and then you die, and then you don't reincarnate because you merge with the one source, blah blah blah. Isn't that what it's all about?
Well, I think that it's not so much the construct here on Earth that is making us forget. I think that it's set up like that from the beginning. I believe that our memory and our thoughts are wiped before we even incarnate onto the planet.
Okay.
Right, and this is just my perspective, Michael. This doesn't have to be what everyone else believes. I'm just kind of sharing everything that I've shared with you today is all from my personal perspective. I'm not trying to, but
I want to understand
make people believe what I believe. Right? It's just what I have come to learn, and I'm always there for more information. Right?
My job is to understand you. So I want to make sure I'm understanding what you are saying, not contradicting you. So you basically said,
I'm just letting the audience know, that you can take or leave any of this information. Absolutely. I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything.
Of course. You know? So coming back to what you said, so basically you said that they created this mechanical thing where we reincarnate 12 times simultaneously, and our memories are wiped out. And why did they do that? So first of all, I am now, maybe this is the 12th reincarnation out of 12 of Michael Bloom's soul right now.
Well, from the reincarnation trap that's been placed, you can be living up to 12 incarnations simultaneously. That doesn't mean that you are living 12 incarnations simultaneously. It's up to 12 incarnations. Okay. So your soul is fractured through this reincarnation trap that's been placed on the planet. So they've fractured out our souls, right? So you are only part of your soul. I'm only part of my soul. We have different versions of us, different versions of our soul, but no one knows it, because our memories have been wiped.
Is that like twin flames? And
not necessarily twin flames, just different incarnations of the same soul on the planet. It can be the same sex. It could be a female. It could be a male. It doesn't have to be the opposite sex.
Yeah. So again, you, for sake of this conversation, could be. Ryder Lee might be in the soul, which Michael Bloom is also part of.
Yes.
But it's fractured into two bodies, but it's the same soul looking through Michael's eyes and Ryder's eyes and perceiving all the perceptions. Now, there could be 10 others, spread around the universe, around the globe. And what's the purpose of this?
Is to make it to where we can't escape. And that we can't get out of this reincarnation.
How could we possibly escape if we could? How would it manifest?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Right?
So escape where? From
the reincarnation
cycle?
Yes. to escape planet Earth.
So by doing that, we can't escape planet Earth. And okay, so I could suggest a theory, which again is inspired by all this information I heard, is that our controllers, they kind of feed off us. We are food for them in a way. So obviously you don't want to destroy your food. You want to have more of it. So they don't want to kill us off. They want to just control us and keep us unaware that we are food. And obviously you don't want your food to run off your plate. So you have to keep us here so that, you have all the food in the world for you, for yourself. So simple.
Exactly. They keep us in a never-ending reincarnation loop.
Okay. And is there no way to break away? I mean, I know that like the Buddha did and Jesus did, because or didn't he? Or maybe he didn't. The ascended masters.
Well, from what I've been shown and the information that I have is that the reincarnation trap has been disabled for a period of time because we are going into the age of Aquarius. So we have a time to escape this reality and ascend, right? And this is something that the dark side knows, the archonic consciousness, the reptilian consciousness, the parasites, whatever you want to call them, has known for a long time. And they've done everything in their power to stop, right? What has 2020 basically been all about, Michael? It's been about self-quarantine and self-isolation, right? And that's because they don't want us to ascend. And they know that the reincarnation trap has been disabled. So the only way they can keep us here is by self-imposing it upon us, by making us give our consent for it to happen.
That's so interesting.
Right?
So how does self-isolation prevents a person from ascending and escaping?
Because you've been quarantined.
But
right?
Hang on a minute.
So self-imposed a quarantine upon you, and that's the only way that they could keep you here, is by giving your consent to be quarantined, right? Because maybe the reincarnation trap has been lifted.
But I'm missing something. So let's go one step back. Let's say, the quarantine trap has been, the reincarnation trap has been lifted. So let's say they're not doing anything. They're letting us just go about our own lives, and they didn't change anything, and there was no COVID and nothing. So describe how does one ascend and escape? Or not escape, just leave. You don't need to escape, just leave, because there is no trap anymore. So how do I ascend? What do I need to do as a person? I need to do good deeds and meditate every day and only think positive thoughts. And then when I die, my soul is just going to go and just leave Earth and never come back. Yes?
Well, with the reincarnation trap being disabled, it actually gives us the choice to be able to go or stay, right? Because with the trap that's been here for thousands of years, you didn't have a choice. Okay. You were automatically recycled no matter what.
So basically, now without the trap, if I die, even if I don't meditate, and if I'm a horrible person, doesn't matter. When I die, I'm asked, I'm now a spirit, and I'm asked, do you want to stay or do you want to go? And I said, fuck it, I want to go. So go. That's how it's going to be? As simple as that?
Yes.
Excellent. Yes. Okay, I could live with that. And by quarantining us, so now let's say we're quarantined, and a quarantined person dies, why should it be any different? His soul goes up, and he's asked, do you want to stay, do you want to leave? He says, I want to leave, and he leaves. He's dead.
Because they've consented to staying here. It's the whole consent thing that we were just talking about 30 minutes ago.
Yes.
And that law, that spiritual law of consent.
Okay.
And so it doesn't matter if the quarantine was voluntary or forced, right? You still consented. This is what they don't want you to know, Michael. Everyone's so focused on the here and now, which is fine in some cases, but no one seems to be concerned, with what happens after we die.
Okay.
And that's just what I've been shown. So the way to get out of this, since the quarantine has been imposed upon us here in the physical reality, making it to where we cannot ascend after we die because we've consented to staying here. Well, what you have to do is you have to revoke your consents.
How?
Through meditation, through practice, through saying out loud, "No, I do not consent."
To being quarantined?
Yes. I do not consent to staying on this planet. I do not consent to psychological manipulations. I do not consent to manipulations of my astral body. Things like that.
Easy.
Yes, it is easy, but not a lot of people know it, and not a lot of people do it. And not a lot of people even say it out loud. That's what you have to do to every single thing that you do not want to happen. Right? You have to say it out loud.
So what about thoughts? If I have these thought patterns, what's going to, stressful thoughts about what if this, or what if I don't have any money? What if I don't, I'm financially deprived and blah, blah, blah. So I could just say, I do not consent to these thoughts. I do not consent to these negative thoughts, and then they will go away.
Yes, it works for thoughts as well, because negative thoughts are bombarding us all the time, especially in this reality, and that's how we change it to get a more positive outlook. Is we say that we don't consent. I do this literally all the time, Michael. Literally, when I have a negative thought or something that I think is going to go wrong, I literally say, "I do not consent to that negative thought. Do you have anything else that I could possibly think about right now?" And that almost instantly switches that negative thought to something else, because I'm able to tap in to something different. I'm able to flip the negative thought to something positive. And when I do that, it completely changes my reality by changing my thought process.
Wonderful. What about technology?
What do you mean, what about technology?
Downloads. We're talking about the downloads that you got. So you got the download about the Garden of Eden. You got the download about the trap, the reincarnation trap. We discussed the reincarnation. There's two more things here: technology and knowledge of good and evil as your spiritual downloads. And also archons, if this is now the time to talk about them.
Right. Well, the archonic consciousness was... a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but some people, because I received all this. This wasn't separate downloads, Michael. This was all in one, right? And this, unraveled as it went, right? So I tried to research some of the things that I was shown and some of the things that, that was downloaded to me. And I ran across an article by Robert Stanley that talked about Inky going to this forbidden off limits zone, right? Which I saw as source itself, right? And he believed that Inky going to this off limits forbidden zone basically invited the archons into our reality. Right.
What are they?
Now that's not what I was shown. I don't really know anything about that. That was just what the article that I read from him that kind of corroborated Inky actually going to this forbidden off-limits zone, and that's really all that I was trying to get corroborated. Right, was just the fact that there was a forbidden off-limits zone that he went to, and he essentially got corrupted.
But what are the archons?
I have no idea.
Okay. And how about technology? You want to talk? Were you given any downloads on that?
So after being shown that the apple in the garden was just a fragment of source, and Inky was trying to integrate back with source and couldn't do it, even being the most perfect human hybrid ever created using 100% of his brain capacity, brings me to really the technology part, and why would people want to merge with technology besides, wanting to live forever and, upload your consciousness to a cloud and yada, yada, yada. Well, what is technology for other than that and convenience? Well, I contend it's processing power, right? Technology is used to process things and take on a lot of information at one time. Being able to disseminate it and categorize it into a Rolodex of sorts and file it away. So my thought is what if the only way to integrate back with source is merging with technology, right? Because it gives us the processing power to be able to take on all of the information, right?
Not sure I got that, but what I can add to that is that I see technology as a good thing in that it can, for example, especially now, it could be shown through cryptocurrencies and blockchain. Let's say blockchain technology, which is decentralized, where you could actually take away the shit part of humans and give it to a computer code to sort out in a perfect way, and then humans just act very nicely to each other, and you don't need a third party to to kind of cut a commission and be corrupt and corrupt people. Like with Bitcoin, it's very clear, I send you the Bitcoin, you get it, because, it's all run by computer code, which is decentralized all over the world, and nobody can control it, change it, manipulate it, and it's just all good, no problem. And if we take those technologies and expand on them, we could create like applications to run our lives, in a perfect way. We could create heaven on earth by giving all the hard stuff to computers. All the stuff that corrupts people, we could give it not to computers, to computer code, good code that serves humanity. Because right now the code, the algorithms are serving the big data companies against us to sell us stuff. But imagine that all the information gathered on us was shared with us, and we all saw what the hell we all want, and then we could actually work to achieve it, thanks to these algorithms that will work for us rather than against us.
Yeah, you're talking about technology on like a fundamental level. I'm talking about it more on a level of integrating with technology, becoming more robot than human, right? And I'm not advocating for that in any way. I don't think that that's the way to go, because too many ETs and too many, they're trying to hurt us in that direction, and that's not the way to go. We should be able to integrate back with source as the natural, physical human being that we are. It's just going to take a lot of evolvement, right? It's going to take a very, very long time. But the ETs and some of the people
Are you in a rush?
No, I'm not in a rush. I'm just saying that a lot of the ETs, they are trying to take the shortcut route in order to try and integrate back with source to become the ultimate God.
With technology,
right?
They are doing it. So you're saying let's not follow their footsteps, and let's do it naturally.
Yes.
And who are they? The ones who have merged with the machines and managed or didn't manage to merge with source as a result?
I don't think that was even their goal. That was just the goal in the beginning, and the goal has just been lost because they've become more machine than an organic life form.
But who are they?
Right? I have no idea, Michael.
So you just say there are some aliens.
The Greys, there's some aliens, there's some ETs that people say that are more robotic than I don't know any of these people personally, right? No. I don't have ET contact with any off-world.
You just said the Greys.
Yeah, but that's what I've heard other people say.
So what did you hear other people say? Greys? Who else?
That all kinds of ETs, from what I have understood and what I've heard other people talk about, have integrated with technology and operate on kind of an AI system. I've heard people talk about the reptilians operate on an AI system. Some of the Draco reptilians do that. But again, that's just speculation. I have no idea. I do not know anything about any of that.
I get it. Okay. Yeah. What else do we have here? I think good and evil. The knowledge of good and evil.
Yeah, I've already went over that. I did that. Talking about how the knowledge of good and evil was really just a fragment of source.
I see. So what
not
is
an apple?
God? What is God? What is source if it's not God?
Well, in the shortest way that I could possibly describe source, Michael, is that source is neither malevolent or benevolent. It just is, right? It's like a motherboard of a computer keeping everything running, right? And the easiest way to explain that is source is the source of the simulation itself, hence the name source.
Okay. No argument there. So what is the Matrix AI system that you mentioned?
Right, so glad you asked, because this is important, but again, it's been disabled, so the point might kind of be mute. But I had a dream about this around a year ago, before I even got this download, that the false light is actually an artificial intelligence program, right? And
what light?
The false light matrix reality, the reincarnation trap.
Yep.
Yeah, it's actually an artificial intelligence program capturing and tethering our consciousness to it and distributing it as it sees fit, right? It's really a complete control kind of system, right? Here and after death, Okay. Imagine, Michael, being able to pick and choose where we go without any reason or repercussions, right? Imagine being able to decide who comes and who goes, right? You could effectively know when, where, and who is going to be reincarnated at any given moment. But again, the point is kind of mute, because it has been disabled, and that's what December 21st, 2020, during the Great Conjunction, actually done. It disabled the false light matrix reincarnation trap.
So that's good news. I mean, if it's now disabled, so they are desperately trying to get us to stay here by doing the self-quarantine. But if somebody didn't do the quarantine, I mean, I didn't quarantine ever during the pandemic, so I'm fine. But even if just to be sure, I'll just say I do not consent to any quarantine whatsoever. Then when I die, and it doesn't matter if I die happy at an old age in a lovely retreat in the jungle, or if I die from a vaccine, or if I die from 5G frying my brains, I'll be fine. I'll be able to leave and not come back, because I did not consent and because the quarantine is lifted.
Right, because that's the true nature of our reality. We have the choice, right? Doesn't matter what you did in your life, you should still be able to have the choice to be able to pick and choose where and what you want to do and where you want to go. Doesn't matter if you're a good person or a bad person. You're still going to suffer the consequences of the things that you've done, no matter if it's in this life, the next life, or the life after, no matter if you came back here or if you didn't come back here. It's not a get out of jail free card.
Okay, but what about the fragmented soul? Isn't that still an issue? Even though, I mean, can my part leave without yours? If you see what I mean? If we're the same soul?
That I'm not 100% sure about. I don't really know exactly how that's going to work. I would guess that you would just kind of separate, and you would become your own soul.
I could live with that, or I could die with that. So, to clarify, there is no physical ascension after death ascension?
No, there's not. And The real and true ascension, just like you stated, is a after death ascension. Think about it. We are the perfect beings, right? We descended from the gods. We are source itself, here to experience its own creation and play the game to remember, right? With the ultimate goal of integrating back with it. It's basically what we've been talking about for the past half hour now.
Yeah.
And we've just kind of been stuck here in this reincarnation trap for thousands of years, and we've just forgotten,
Amazing.
And it's time, Michael, for us to wake up and remember. That's why I believe I was given this information in the first place, and it doesn't have to resonate with everybody.
I love it.
And that's also why all of a sudden a lot of people in the last 3 years in the spiritual and consciousness community and movement has been talking about ascension, right? And from my understanding, it's just been misinterpreted as a physical ascension when it's not physical at all. It's a spiritual or astral kind of after death ascension.
I see. Excellent. What can I say? You've made me even more optimistic than I am with this new wonderful knowledge and information, which I enjoyed very much listening to for like almost an hour and a half. We've covered quite a lot, I believe. And that's the moment now when we enter the final stage of the program, of the interview, which is the dramatic part, where I ask you to address directly from the bottom of your heart your fellow brothers and sisters around the world with a message, with a request, with a demand or suggestion that you might have for them. So Ryder Lee, the stage is yours. Your brothers and sisters are listening. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so get to know yourself. Know who you are. That's the most important thing that you can possibly do right now at this time. Figure out who you are as a spiritual being, right? Develop your spiritual practices. Cut cords with things that no longer serve your highest and best good. And that could be traumas, that could be people, that could be situations, that could be things. Whatever it is that is holding you back, get rid of it. Become your own individual. Cultivate and create your own thoughts. Find something original. Create. That's the thing that the controllers do not want us to do. They do not want us to create. So create, push back, stand up, say no, say out loud no. Tell the universe hears no very well. Say no, stand in your power, be sovereign, figure out who you are, develop a spiritual practice, control your reactions, right? Because the only way that any of these events have any power over us is our reaction to them, because these events are going to happen no matter what, right? The way that we get out of the cycle is controlling our reaction and getting out of our emotional state. And that comes with what I just said about getting rid of the things that no longer serve you, And the spiritual practice doesn't need to be just a meditation thing, sitting with Buddhist monks in a Buddhist temple or religious or anything like that. It can be whatever you want it to be. It can be cooking, it can be painting, it can be going for a walk, it can be whatever it is that lets you quiet your mind down and set in that 0 point field to clear your thoughts of all of the distractions in the world. I believe if everyone would do that, we will make leaps and bounds in our reality, and it will change for the better.
Amen. What a lovely thing to say. Thank you very much, Ryder Lee. I had such a lovely time listening to everything you had to say. I could carry on talking to you forever, but our time is kind of up. So all I have to say is thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate you having me on your show and sharing my downloads and what my experiences are in life with you and your audience.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. Take care now. And to you, our lovely audience, what a lovely interview this was. Such a positive, optimistic interview with all this lovely information for us to think about. We can die happily. We can go wherever we like. Don't forget to say you do not consent. Thank you for watching. Have a lovely evening and goodbye.